Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Uluyemi Adeosun, and the topic we'll be looking at tonight is resilience, empathy, influence, cultivating key behavioral competencies for HR impact. Quite a mouthful, you will say. Our facilitator is Obong Ima, and I would like to quickly read our profile. We are excited to have her for the first time on this prestigious platform. is a dynamic human resource professional with over 5 years of experience in HR operations, employee engagement, performance management, and leadership development. She currently works as a human resource associate at Baba Gona Pharma Services, where she has led impactful initiatives such as AI integrated learning systems, leadership training programs, significantly boosting employee satisfaction and internal promotions. Her expertise lies in optimizing HR processes, designing effective training programs, driving organizational efficiency. She has also managed large-scale recruitment events and entrepreneurial trainings for thousands of individuals, reflecting her commitment to workforce development at scale. Ladies and gentlemen, she holds a Bachelor's of Science and a Master's of Science degree in Human Anatomy. I'm currently pursuing her SPHRI certification. Ma'am brings to this session deep passion for people development and a proven track record of HR innovation and impact. I'm excited, elated, delighted to bring to the platform the delectable Obong Ima, speaking to us tonight on the topic, resilience, empathy, influence, cultivating key behavioral competencies for HR impact. Over to you.
Okay, apologies. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Uyemi. I'm glad to be here to host my first session, yes, with HR mentorship. Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. I hope our day was great. So I'm just going to jump in. My topic today, as you can see on the screen, is resilience, empathy, influence, cultivating key behavioral competencies for HR impact. Now, the aim of this session is to help us build these 3 key competencies. And you see why they are important, right? I'm also looking to help us understand the impact of these 3 key behavioral competencies in our various organizations, right? How this can help HR professionals to build impact in their organizations. Yeah. I'm trying to move to the next slide. Doesn't seem to be responding. All right. All right, so historically, the HR role has been seen as a purely administrative function. And you would see that some organizations, you still see HR and admin is fused together, where the HR person is basically responsible for running the administrative tasks, purchasing, keeping office orderly, tidy. And for all these functions are critical with organizations, the HR role has expanded significantly over time. Today, HR professionals are expected to be strategic business partners. They're expected to be the ones driving business strategy. They're expected to be the ones setting business objectives. They're expected to be the ones leading the business in to achieve its strategy and objective. Now, this means that this shift in the expectation for HR professionals also demands a change in the skills HR professionals have. It also demands that we build more competencies to enable us align into this new expectation for HR. I have a report here from Abinga's Workplace, this 2025, where it was reported that 92% of HR professionals feel that they have a strong influence on their company's strategic decisions. So we're going to be looking at the 3 skills from the topic that would help HR professionals move from being purely administrative to becoming more strategic. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about here is empathy, is resilience. So what is resilience? Resilience is simply the ability to recover from difficulties. is the ability to adapt to change, to maintain effectiveness in the face of adversity. It involves a mental toughness and emotional fortitude. You'd hear most people use the word grit when talking about resilience. It simply means being able to withstand stress, withstand pressure, withstand setbacks, withstand changes. And this is something that is very key and important, not just for HR professionals, but for employees, for an organization, really. But why does this matter in HR? Now, the HR environment is characterized by very high pressure, right? You see that there are constant changes happening in organizations. You see there are measures, organizations are folding up, right, due to the economic crisis and all of that. And even handling employee situations, managing conflicts within organizations. Resilience, therefore, ensures that HR professionals can navigate all of these changes, all of these complexities without burnout. If as the HR professional or the HR lead in your organization, you're not able to effectively manage change, you're not able to effectively overcome setbacks, you're not able to effectively recover from difficulties, you know that it sets the tone or a precedence for the organization, and it can affect the direction the organization is going and the way the organization is able to bounce back and continue to execute a strategy. SHRM in 2022 shared a data that showed that resilient employees, right, are more productive, 50% more productive after experiencing setbacks. This was to demonstrate the link between resilience and sustained performance in an organization. So I have this report here from ADP Research Institute, right? This was just to show us the importance of resilience. Now, not just to the individual, whether it's the employee or the HR personnel, but to the organization as a whole. So it reported that employees who love what they do are 3.9 times more likely to be highly resilient. If we look at the pandemic in 2020, right, you notice that a lot of organizations folded up. You notice that a lot of businesses collapsed, right? A lot of new businesses, of course, also came up. And what sets the businesses that survived the pandemic and are still thriving now apart from those that folded up or those that had to um, drop some of their staff, perhaps those that had to cut down on expansions, what sets apart those businesses is the fact that those organizations were more resilient than others. And resilience is not just a skill, it's a process, right? It's something that takes intention. And what do I mean? It begins by planning. So the way we, okay, let's make it very practical. So you have you set action items for yourself. You have a to-do list perhaps of the things you want to achieve. You begin by planning, breaking down each of those things you want to achieve. Okay, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do next? Right, etc., etc. To build resilience in organizations is the same structure. You have to plan for adversity, plan for changes. Now we live in a very volatile time, right? Things are more easy to change. You cannot predict what happens tomorrow, right? We could wake up tomorrow, and I mean, the way the pandemic came, it was sudden. We woke up one day and then there was a total shutdown of things. So you need to begin by planning if you intend to be resilient as an individual or as an organization. Plan for adversity, plan for changes, plan for difficulty, plan for any setback that could occur. And once you've planned, that's the first stage. The next thing is, how would you respond? So in as much as you plan, you cannot plan for everything. You cannot plan for every single thing, right? So now you need to think about, how do I respond if changes come up? How do I respond if I face a setback? How do I respond if tomorrow my situation changes? That's how you build resilience for yourself and for your organization. They also reported that age does not predict workplace resilience. So we have here that 14% of Gen Z are highly resilient and 13% of boomers are also highly resilient. So you cannot say, oh, because we have more of Gen Zs in my organization, they tend to be more resilient, or we have more of the boomers, or we have people of a certain age group, they are going to adapt easily to change or be more resilient. That doesn't work, right? Age is not a predictor of workplace resilience. You just have to plan for these changes and then ensure that you have ensure that your response as well is also planned for. So if you cannot plan for the exact change that comes, okay, if something different comes up that I probably had not foreseen, how do I respond to this? So what attitudes and behaviors can help you improve resilience? Now, speaking to the individual, right? First is to know your triggers, your stress triggers. Now, we know that stress is a big demotivator, right? And it's not something that we plan for. It's not something that's we encourage or even want to happen, but oftentimes we face stress from work. It could be work overload. It could be from a colleague, right, that doesn't either respond to you the right way, or speaks in an unruly manner or tone, or it can be from I'll use Lagos. I know I've heard that Lagos traffic can be a big stress factor, right? It can also be from your diet, right? We know that what we eat, there's this saying that you are what you eat, and a lot of the things we consume can be a big stress trigger for us. So first thing is to identify what are your triggers, what are the things that cause you stress. And once you've identified that, then you begin to build, okay, what do I do? What do I do to avoid this, if it's possible to avoid? If I cannot avoid it, then what do I need to do when this happens? And there's something I usually recommend is to find your happy place. So where is that one place that if I'm stressed today, I can easily, okay, it doesn't have to be a place, right? But that one thing that I can easily go do and it makes me feel better. What is that one thing that's, if I'm really stressed, oh, it's workload, I can just, okay, keep it aside, go do this thing. Or if it's a person, go talk to this person, and then I come back and I feel much better. So once you know your stress triggers, the next thing is to identify your happy place. What is that one thing that helps you to distress? Then next is to manage your emotions. So I have, okay, I'll just use this to explain. So we have this feeling wheel, excuse me, by Dr. Thomas Funke. The first thing is to be able to identify the emotion you're feeling. So most times, if you ask somebody today, how are you? The very obvious answer is I'm fine, right? Even when they are not, even when there's something really on their mind, there's something bothering them, or we just default to, oh, I'm fine, oh, I'm okay. But it's important to identify your feelings. It's important to identify and name it, right? So we have okay, sad, peaceful, powerful, joyful, scared, and mad. And under each of these, you'd see that there are now other words that are more specific. So instead of just saying I'm mad, you could be more specific. Oh, I feel skeptical. Oh, I'm irritated. I'm furious. I'm frustrated. I feel selfish or jealous, right? Or if I'm sad, you say, oh, I'm lonely. I'm bored. I'm sleepy. I'm feeling inadequate, miserable, etc. So first, know the feeling you are or the emotion you are feeling at the time, and then identify what that emotion is. It's only when you are able to identify the emotion that you can then begin to talk about how to manage that emotion. And I'll still go back to what I talked about here with the stress. If you know you are feeling a certain way, if it's angry, perhaps, okay, what is causing that anger? Is it a person? Is it something that happened? Is it something you need to talk to someone about, or is it something you need to leave the environment that is giving you that emotion? When you are able to identify an emotion, it's easier to manage because you are now able to clearly speak to that emotion and identify what it is that is causing that emotion. Then next is to nurture a growth mindset. So we know we have two mindsets we talk about usually. We have the growth mindset, we have the fixed mindset. Now, a person with growth mindset is the person that doesn't see challenges as the final. They see it as opportunities to grow. They see it as opportunities to learn. While a person with a fixed mindset is one that's, oh, everything is gloomy, everything is dark. Oh, there's a challenge, I cannot overcome it. It means I'm a failure. Oh, I've been given a task, it's too hard for me, I don't think I can do this. Oh, right. Everything about them, they don't see opportunities, rather they see challenges, they see difficulties. Now, building resilience means nurturing a growth mindset and redefining what effort and difficulty means. So you don't you don't allow difficult or challenging situations become a roadblock or become like the final bus stop or become the limits for you. You see them as stepping stones to improve. You see them as opportunities to learn, to get better, right? And this is part of how you build resilience. Next we have is accept input from others. So a lot of times people are embarrassed or afraid to even ask for help. They think it makes them look weak. They think it's, it shows their weakness that, oh, you don't know this thing. I'm better than you. But on the journey to building resilience, accepting inputs from others is key. It allows you to get support, right? Right from the first point where I talked about knowing your stress, managing emotions, nurturing, it all comes down to this as well, right? Because let's say you are feeling a certain way and the obvious solution is to talk to somebody, perhaps the person that is causing you to feel that way, but then you are too afraid, you're too shy or embarrassed to do that. Then you keep and bottle that emotion, and it doesn't allow you move forward because that feeling would always be there. Perhaps every time you come upon that person or you see the person, the memory comes back and you're not able to move forward. You're not even able to do what you're supposed to do or work together as a team. So you see, not seeking support or accepting support from others, it's a big hindrance to building resilience. And you know that your colleagues often have perspectives that you probably do not, right? So it's not even a case of oh, I'm weak, or it expands your horizon. It allows you have more perspective to do what you need to. Then we have take time to refresh, right? Similar to what I talked about in knowing your stress triggers. Take time away from work. So vacations, take your leave, disengage from your work tools. So I know that from the pandemic, we've had a lot of organizations possibly doing more of remote work or working hybrid, which means you have people on Zoom calls now for longer periods of time. So there's a word I came across, Zoom fatigue, right? Because you stay on calls for periods, hours at a time. So it's important that if you work in that kind of environment, when you work, the work day is over, take time to disengage from those tools. Don't pick up perhaps your laptop or phone again and you're giving yourself more screen time. Just give yourself a few minutes, hours away. Take walks if you need to. Chat up a colleague, chat up a friend. If you're a movie lover, go see a movie. Just disengage from work and give yourself time to refresh and come back. Then finally, here we have support network. So I would use the HR mentorship platform as a very good example. You should have a network of individuals where you can ask questions, where you can get help, excuse me, where you get resources, you get information, right? These are the things that help you build resilience. So you need access to people, you need information, you don't know where to get it. You have a network of people you could easily reach out to, talk to, and with their own wide and vast network as well, they're able to help you and you get what you need and move on. So the next skill here is empathy. Now, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. We literally say empathy is walking in the shoes of another person. And it's different from sympathy. Now, with sympathy, you're simply you acknowledge the emotion of the person, right? But it doesn't move you to do anything. It doesn't prompt you to act on that feeling you're feeling for that person, right? But with empathy, it's like it goes beyond just feeling what the person is feeling. You're also actively seeking how to help them, right? So we see here it goes beyond sympathy, requiring a deep emotional and intellectual connection to another person's experience. Now, why does this matter in HR or for a HR professional? Empathy is important because, as HR professionals, you manage your workforce, right? The employees within the organization. Now, those employees are just like you. They are prone to stress, they have issues, there are conflicts, they have diverse experiences, right, and requirements. And if you are not able to empathize with your employees, then it means that you just be developing policies that are favorable more to the organization while the employees suffer. So it's important to find that balance between ensuring that the organization meets its strategy, yes, ensuring that organization's objectives and goals, values are kept, but also ensuring that your employees do not suffer, also ensuring that your employees feel heard, also ensuring that your employees feel valued and they are happy to show up every day. Now, how do we measure the impact? So I have a case study here by Catalyst that revealed that companies with high empathy scores significantly outperformed others by 20%. So you see that empathy is not just a soft skill we talk about. It's not just something we talk about and then you move on. You can actually directly correlate it to your organization's success. You can tie it and find the balance between showing empathy and how your organization succeeds. So yeah, I have 3 points here to again emphasize the impact of empathy on your organization's success. Empathy allows you to build trust and open communication. So I'll use an example, right? I've heard this a lot of times with anonymous surveys or employee feedback and surveys. You hear that a lot of employees don't respond to it. And if you ask, you find out that the reason is they feel like those surveys are truly not anonymous. They feel like the HR person or the business is still going to have a way to know that, oh, you sent this feedback is from you. So they don't believe it's anonymous. They don't feel like they can trust the HR. They don't feel like they can trust the organization enough with their feedback. Or it's a case of they've given feedback previously and nothing was done about it. So they don't feel like their voices are heard. They don't feel like it matters. Or if I give feedback or I don't, it doesn't really matter. But when HR leaders demonstrate genuine care and understanding, employees are more likely to trust them. So if you've read this book by Stephen, I think it's Stephen Covey, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah, he talks about that we like those that like us, right? So if your employees feel like you value them, if they feel like you care about their well-being, then they are more likely to trust you. And as a HR person, if your employees trust you, then you know that communication channels are open. They are very willing to share feedback. They are very willing to come talk to you if they have any issues. They're very willing to respond, right? If you need feedback, if you need information, that's what happens when you build trust and open communication with your employees. Now, I think it was from a webinar. I can't recall exactly where. So somebody mentioned that the HR says, oh, we have an open door policy, right? Yes, the door is open, but then you find out that the hearts of the HR is not really open. So you show up, the door is open, yes, but then you try to communicate, you try to, talk about your, whatever is bothering you, emotions, feelings, and all of that. The HR person doesn't really care, but then you hear the whole, we have an open door policy. So it goes beyond just saying that you have empathy. Doing is in showing that you actually do have it. It's also important in enhancing employee well-being and engagement. Empathetic HR practices prioritize employee well-being and work-life balance. Now, this goes beyond just putting up policies. Policies are great, yes, but to weave empathy into the policies we create means making them more employee friendly, thinking about your employees beyond just, okay, what is the norm? How are my employees actually feeling? How can I make this very relatable and easy for them? How can I make this policy show them that we care for them, that we value them in the workplace? So, some employee well-being or engagement initiatives could be flexible work hours. It could be the benefits you give your employees. It could be from I've heard of some businesses that do 4-day work weeks, right? Yes. So just thinking about how can I make the employees in my organization feel heard? How can I make them feel seen? And with empathy, there is something called personalized employee experience. So it goes beyond just thinking about your employees as a whole, but going down to think about each of them as individuals. How can I respond to my employees as individuals? Of course, finding a balance, right? Because you don't want to be that person that becomes like a walkover. Everybody or anything you tell this person, yeah, she's going to do, just, she's very kind, she's very nice. No, no, no. You have to still find that balance between being empathetic to your employees and preserving the well-being of the organization. Now, the third point is driving inclusive, positive culture. A HR person or HR leaders and management that shows empathy towards their towards their employees, you could see a ripple effect with that to other employees, right? Because it comes from the top down, where employees are able to trust their HR, where employees are able to trust senior management. You would see that the organization is inclusive, right? That the culture being fostered in that organization is one that includes everybody. It's one that allows for every individual. We know of the whole, I think this is the era of we're pushing more for diversity and inclusion, right? So if you're able to show your employees that yeah, everybody matters, everyone is important, everything we do is for your well-being, is for your benefits, right? Then employees are able to trust management better, employees are able to trust their leaders better. So this is a survey, this is response from a survey that was conducted by Catalyst, right? So these are some of the responses people gave on some of the things that can make them feel like the organization cares about them, make them feel like the organization listens, that they are being heard. So you see here, flexible hours and schedule, reducing amount or duration of video calls to avoid exhaustion. Now, this is for face-to-face virtual interaction. You see, verbally stating that they notice that I am doing a great job, right? So acknowledging when employees do a great job, when your employees are hitting targets, when they are going above and beyond. Asking about my health and family, starting meetings with personal check-ins, right? So it's the little things that matter. You don't show up to a meeting or to a call and then the first thing you do is go straight into your action items. You begin by checking in with your team members, finding out how they are doing, how are they feeling, right? Back to managing emotions. How are your employees feeling? How are they doing? Are they able to start the work week positive? Are they able to, do they have any personal issues they are facing? Do they have any health challenge or family, right? Just ensuring that team members feel heard. Now, this doesn't have to happen from the HR perspective alone. If you are able to teach managers to do this in their personal meetings, one-on-one check-ins with employees, you're able to know your employee just beyond the person that gets things done. Examples here from written communication, again, expressing well-being for expressing concern for their well-being, asking employees what they need to successfully do their job, creating more informed policies and statements about social issues, using specific words like, oh, I'm sorry, let me know if you need help, etc. Right? These are just examples of some of the things employees want to see in their leaders to show that they have empathy towards them. Okay, so how can we cultivate empathy as HRs? First is to develop active listening skill. Now, active listening is not just listening to someone speak, right? Is being deeply engaged and involved in the conversation. There's this saying that a lot of times people just listen to respond. So as you're speaking, they're thinking of all the things they want to say. But active listening says focus on, be present in the conversation, focus on what the person is saying, ask clarifying questions like, tell me more about this, right? To get more details, to get the person to open up, to speak more. Use the paraphrasing phase, what I hear you saying, or oh, if I get you correctly, to ensure that you understand what they are saying, so ensure that there's no hidden meaning in their words that you're not getting, right? So we know that a lot of people, conversations, we have the people that are high context individuals. So when they speak, they expect what they say is not everything they intend to say. There's still some meaning behind their words that they expect you to figure out. And of course, you know, you could get that from body language, right? So active listening also involves being focused, observing body language if it's in-person communication, right? If it's written, focusing on the tone, etc. Now, employee feedback and check-ins is also another way to cultivate empathy. I've mentioned feedback mechanisms, but it's not just about collecting those feedback, right? It's about doing. So you collect, you get feedback from your pulse surveys or pulse checks or from suggestion boxes, which shows your employees, of course, that you're giving them a chance to express themselves. You're giving them voices, but then also showing them that these responses, this feedback is valuable. So going ahead to implement from the feedback, right? To also share feedback from your end on progress with what was discussed. Creating policies and cultures that advocates for your employees, that are employee friendly. This can also signal empathy at an organizational level. And we've talked about diverse backgrounds as well. So ensure that your policies are inclusive, ensure that your organization, yes, is diverse and very inclusive for all individuals. And I'd also like to mention bias here, right? With HRS, with individuals as a whole, we have a lot of personal biases that we bring to the workplace. So in ensuring that you have empathy or that you show empathy, ensure that your personal bias does not cloud your judgments or opinion. Ensure that you don't you don't use your experience or your own emotion or the way you would react to judge others, right? It also means, back to what I had mentioned earlier, personalized employee experience. So two individuals could have an issue and come to you. The way you treat them probably should not be the same, right? Because their experiences are different, their values are different, their backgrounds are different. So it's important to understand this as a way to show empathy. Now, influence. What is influence? Influence is the ability to affect the character, the development or behavior of someone or something, inspiring action and driving positive outcomes. Now, influence is beyond, influence is not power, right? Influence is not power. Influence is the ability to persuade. And it goes beyond even physical interaction. It's that place where people have come to trust you so much that they know you're involved in something. They know this decision is coming from you. They are quick to trust. They are quick to adapt to it. They are quick to accept, right? Because they know that you are a person of character. You are a person that has shown trust over time. You are reliable. You are consistent. That's what influence is. Now, influence is likely to cause 3 times successful change in an organization. You can see here a review by Harvard Business that influential leaders are 3 times more likely to drive successful change initiatives. If you've ever tried to get your employees to do something, a lot of people could default to power, coercion, right? Oh, because I say so, you use authority, and that's good and fine. It works in the short term. But to drive successful and long-lasting impacts, you need influence. You need people to trust you beyond, I said so. You need people to trust you beyond, oh, the HR has implemented this and we have to do it, right? You need people, take a very good example. You need people to show up early in the workplace. As the HR person or as the manager, are you showing up early? Or do you just say it and then expect people to respond and show up early just because you said so? So you need to show that you are trustworthy. You need to show that people should be able to persuade that your employees should trust you because you're a person of character. Now, why does this matter? I've already spoken a bit about that. To implement new policies, to gain buy-in from your employees, from your board, from managers, for strategic initiatives, and to lead organizational change, you need influence. You need to move beyond power and coercion to a place where you can be said to be influential. So how do you cultivate influence? The first is build trust and credibility. Yes, influence begins with trust. People are far more likely to be persuaded by someone whom they trust. People are far more likely to listen. People are far more likely to adopt your new practice, to adopt the new initiative or whatever it is you're trying to bring in if they can trust you. Next is to understand your audience. Influencing means meeting people where they are, right? You have to understand who are the people you are meeting. So you are a new HR leader or HR manager in your organization. You don't show up and then try to implement what you think are the changes that are needed, or you just show up and try to implement the things you feel like are what should be done. You need to come in first and identify with the people, identify with your employees. What are their pain points? What are the things that make these people who they are, that drive their what are the things that drive their behavior? What are the things that drive their action? Why do they behave or act the way they do? So you need to understand your audience. You need to understand your audience to ensure that whatever influence you're trying to now bring in, or whatever initiative it is you're trying to have them adopt, is something that they would do long term. Because like I've mentioned, influence is not just about getting people to act in the now, it's about long lasting impact. Next is to leverage data and stories. So you're a HR person, you have this beautiful, wonderful idea that you want to present to management. And yes, you've come in, you've told them, but you don't have any data, you don't have any story to back it up. So my manager normally says, show me, don't tell me. So what that means is, don't come and tell me, oh, all the beautiful things you think you can achieve. Show me the data, show me the evidence to back what you're saying. To cultivate influence, you need data, right? People trust data. People trust data more than they would trust any other story you have to share. So ensure that your recommendations, ensure that your initiatives are always backed by data-driven insights. Okay. So in summary, we've talked about the three essential behavioral competencies that HR professionals need to build to ensure that they remain strategic business partners, to ensure that they move beyond just the administrative functions to becoming key business strategies for the organizations. And we've talked about resilience, empathy, and influence. Now, these are not just mere soft skills, right? These are things that can actually push your organization or move your organization in the right direction and help you to drive impact and foster a thriving workplace culture. Invest in your development. Now, these three things are skills, right? We've talked about them. And like any other skill, whether it's hard skill or these soft skills we've mentioned, there are things you can build. There are things you can build. So invest in development for yourself. Take trainings when necessary, mentorship, right? Seek out mentorship opportunities. Engage in regular self-reflection. So there are a lot of things that trainings may not teach you. There are a lot of things that someone else may not be able to tell you. But if you sit down and reflect, you know yourself better than any other person could know you. If you reflect on the things that make you who you are, if you reflect on your experiences, you'd be able to draw insights, find places where you need to grow, find places where you need to improve, find places where you can do better, right? So reflection is very, very important and very key as to us as professionals. And then tangible impacts. I've talked about that these skills can lead to increased employee engagement. It can improve your organizational morale and climate. It can direct a positive impact on your business outcomes and organizational successes. And you see that there are data to back this up. So these three skills are not just something that you should talk about and gloss over. They're actually things that you should be able to show a direct correlation and impact to how your organization succeeds or fails, right? So it's very important that we just take time, see the way you act, see the way you've led your organization, you've led your team. Are you really embodying these three skills? Are you reflecting these three skills? And then if you are not, what can you do? How can you develop in these three areas to ensure that you're doing better, to ensure that you're actually helping the organization strategy. So I think that's the last slide. Thank you. Don't know if we have any questions. Mr. Liemi, thank you very much. Can we take questions?
Thank you so much, MM, for that beautiful, brilliant, scintillating presentation. I thoroughly, absolutely enjoyed the session. That was well delivered. Well done, my sister. Any questions, contributions, comments, or anyone wants to share experience before we call it a wrap this lovely Friday evening? Trying to check if there are any hands. All right, no comments. I'd like to once again, on behalf of all of us, say thank you for sharing with us from your wealth of knowledge and experience this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we can unmute and say thank you to our colleague and our sister. Thank you, MM.
Thank you,
Thank
MM.
you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, would the